Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole, where we are rising in faith and thriving in purpose. Today, I am joined by Rasheem Rooke, the Assistant Vice President of Program Management at UNCF. He oversees more than 400 scholarship programs that support students across the country. With over 20 years of experience in higher education and nonprofit leadership, he is dedicated to expanding access and success for underrepresented students. He's also an author and a creative entrepreneur that's passionate about service, mentorship, and storytelling. And some of you may know him from Howard University. He spent many years there shaping the next generation of scholars. And so let's give a warm welcome to Rashim.
Round of applause.
Yes,
Round.
yes.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate you.
Welcome. Yeah, so I've known you for almost 20 years now.
Yeah,
Yes. Meanwhile,
yeah.
like I said, we looking real good. God been good to us.
When you gotta start categorizing friendships in decades, that means you've been around for a while. So we got 2 decades under our
To,
belt, but we both look like we mid-30s.
you
So,
know,
we
you
holding it.
know, listen, hold it. All right. So in today's episode, we're going to talk about the emotional burdens, societal stereotypes, and generational expectations that have been placed upon Black men and continue to be placed upon Black men. And Rashim is going to share both personal and through a collective lens about how Black men are often perceived as threats while silently battling mental health challenges, mental isolation, and the pressure to perform, and with strength at that, right? So we hope that this conversation is going to challenge the cultural narratives, invite compassion, and really center faith as a path to healing as well as liberation. So, this is for anyone who wants to better understand the lived experiences and reality of Black men and how we as a society and as a faith community can stop failing them and start seeing them. All right, Rashim. So, what inspired your interest to talk about Black men and mental health?
Um, I would like to say that it was some divine experience that opened my eyes and made me just realize that this was something that we needed to discuss. But the reality is, I was getting into multiple relationships
Okay.
with different women at different times, and I started to see a pattern in
Okay.
terms of how I was showing up in a negative sense.
Okay.
Something more than just, oh, you didn't take your lady out to dinner, or oh, you forgot a special day. Um, I'm talking about how it there were consistent ways that I was addressing or being led by my trauma that started to pop
Okay.
up in relationship after relationship after relationship after relationship after relationship. So it became clear to me
Mhm.
because now I'm dealing with women who, I get older, I'm dealing with older women. They're like, no, something ain't right here.
Okay.
So I was actually led into unpacking my own mental wellness because it was in response to the women I was in relationships with.
Mm.
Um, and I will say, of course, in the beginning, like a lot of men, we're not really big on therapy, talking about mental health,
Uh-huh.
my mental wellness. Oh, I'm giving lip service. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there. But really, I was just procrastinating,
Mm.
taking a long time. So that's what really kind of led me into this space. Then you add on top of that, one of the organizations that I led was a youth development organization working specifically with young Black males in DCPS, DC
Uh-huh.
Public Schools. And this is a program that was created in Chicago, and then I expanded it into DC. I was hired to expand it into DC and then add to it college prep work.
Mhm.
But the core of the program was cognitive behavioral therapy. The core of the
Love that.
program was social work. The core of the program was getting young black men together in high school to help them identify better ways to present themselves when they're being triggered.
Mhm.
So I'm balancing doing that work professionally and at the same time still running from my own work that I had to do.
Yeah.
So that
That
just got me
sounds
to a
like
point
that
where,
actually might have been a divine intervention because you didn't go into the job thinking, "Oh, we're gonna be doing CBT with them and it's gonna rub off on me."
yeah, actually, I went into the job fearful that it would rub off on me because I was still running.
Oh. Ooh, the self-awareness. But I'm also not surprised.
Yeah, yeah. I was
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm going to be doing this work. I'm going to have to address these things sooner or later. And, and I knew that walking in the door because I knew what the
Mhm.
organization was about. And I know my history. And there's no way you could, people could hear my story and be like, oh, nothing to see here. No, there's stuff to see. There's stuff we got to work on. So I
Yeah.
knew that that it it was going to happen, and of course, what supercharged it was the fact that I had women consistently in my life saying, "Yo, you got to unpack these things."
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. I'm glad you still did it, right? Because some people they wouldn't have gone forward with the job if they weren't ready.
Yeah, but I wanted to be an executive director,
Huh?
and
Which
and it
aligns
was
with the man. Like, when you think about men and, like, climbing the ladder, I don't wanna say corporate per se, but, like, yeah, the professional ladder and leadership, and you've been leading people since I've known you this whole 20 years, right? Like, so, but in some spaces and places, it is easier to hide than others, and I resonate with that too because I even say with the work that I do, I I practice what I promote.
yeah,
Like, I can't sit here and advise people about things on their life or even practical strategies, coping things, and then not apply them. Like, it just doesn't feel good. Not that it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel good. So there's a misalignment. So there are a lot of times where clients have helped me grow. Um, in your experience, how are Black men conditioned to handle emotions while growing up?
and I mean, this is the story we see in popular culture, in hip hop, and movies, and black movies.
Mhm.
Um, Own experiences that we see, regardless of gender at times. You know, y- y- don't cry or I'm gonna give you something to cry about. That's
That's the
conditioning.
one. Mhm.
That's condition. And you do that as a part of that has been done as a part of rearing children. But then more specifically, when it comes to young black boys, that crying is seen as weakness,
Yeah.
and you got to develop into being a strong black man. And there is no space for tears. There is no space to cry. There is no space to emote. So that's a conditioning that that has been leading how we are developing and growing young black boys. But then there's another piece to it as well. A lot of us are growing up in urban environments. You think about the masses of black people; they are in cities, they're in urban pockets. They are in New York, in Atlanta, in Houston, in Dallas. You know what I'm saying? They're in Chicago. They're in areas that have been historically and traditionally discriminated against,
Uh-huh.
marginalized, war on drugs,
Yeah.
police brutality, um, street violence, and I was talking with a friend of mine who's from New York. I'm from Yonkers, New York, and someone was like, "Hey, I think you're the only black man that I know out of Yonkers, New York. Like, I can't think of no other black man other
Really?
than Sis and the Loxes. Outside of
You're
that, they're
right.
like,
I don't know anybody but DMX and the Lox.
and Yonkers was hell ridden. Like it was created to destroy us as black people.
A
So
lot
when
of
you
these
grow up in
spaces
that,
and places are, yeah.
mhm, you grow up in that environment. And I gotta say, y'all, I'm not a mental health professional. I'm just someone who has worked as an advocate and has taken full advantage of the resources for my own development.
Mhm.
But those spaces you cannot grow up in and not have PTSD.
Yeah.
You just can't. And sometimes our coping mechanism is to shut off emotion because if we emoted through every trauma we went through, we probably wouldn't be here.
Woulda lost our
So
mind.
you got mamas and aunties and uncles and fathers saying, "Don't you cry." And then you also got kids saying, "I can't walk through this block and appear to be soft." And emotions lead to soft. So I'm shutting off emotions. So, we deal with that and a whole host of other things, but that's been a part of our conditioning.
Yeah, and it's just saying don't. It's not telling you what to do. And I think that's the other thing. And then what do you see, right? Because then you look around for that model of a
Mhm.
strong black man, right? And what do you think of when you think of strong black man or when you were a kid? What did that look like in
There
Yonkers?
were a couple of models that we had in our community. They all worked at the community center.
Okay.
Um, there was for me, my experience, they all worked at the community center. I saw I had two friends who had a father daily present in their lives, which means that they were out and about. We could see them. Two, and all my friends. But every other male that was encountered was either a black or Latino male who was working with us in the community.
Okay.
And there was but a handful of those. So that's how I was able to get uh, some image. That's how I was able to have conversations and get little bits of wisdom that didn't make sense to me when I was a knucklehead, but then grew older. I'm like, I remember when Tony said dot 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 dot. Now it makes sense. Um,
Mm,
and it puts us behind if like those are the only ways we're gonna be able to get um that type of strong black male guidance. It stunts our development to a certain extent. Because there's but so much you could pick up from television shows. I mean, Bill Cosby wasn't coming into my house. And now we see Bill Cosby wasn't much to really be glamorizing anyway.
well, we're
Now,
talking about Heathcliff, a fictitious
Heathcliff,
character,
Huxtable,
versus
yes,
Bill
Bill
Cosby. There
Cosby.
is a difference. Yeah.
But, but I'm from the era where before Heathcliff, Bill Cosby was doing Fat Albert and the Gang,
Yes, I
and
remember that. I thought you was gonna go further back, like with Dragnet or something.
no, 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 no,
Yeah.
that was his money. But yeah, even when he was doing Fat Albert, like he's presenting himself, and we're latching on as young black kids because that's the black man we seen on television before we go to school in the morning. We
Yeah, he
watched
was
that
like our
before.
black Mister Rogers.
So yeah, you're right. The characters, there's but so much we can get from those characters.
Right.
But in terms of real life, just a handful, just a
Yeah.
handful.
I mean, because you could have also seen it in a different way, that someone who maybe wasn't a, role model, a positive role model, but exhibit strength. Because there are some people who pick up those other versions of it and, run with that. And I love that in your community, you had that leadership in the community center. You had a place where it sounds like, well, and I'm saying this thinking about the community center I would go to, right? Like you had a
Yeah,
place to go where there was programming, there was structure, there was curriculum, there was community, there was safety.
yeah. The Nepperhan Community Center right there on Warburton, right
Yeah.
on Warburton Ave. But the thing is, though, there were also other role models. That
Okay.
dude who stood on the corner, who was with a 40 ounce, was a role model. He was
Yeah.
teaching something.
Yep.
The dude who was selling weed and crack and anything else he can get his hand on, and he was going in and out of jail. He was a role model,
Yeah.
and he was teaching something because I had people in my immediate circle, family and friends, who saw that as a rites of passage.
Right.
Like that's how you get black manhood. You stand on that corner, and sometimes even our families push us out there. I
Yeah.
can remember plenty of times people like, I send you to the store and you come right back. Don't you just want to stand out there for a little bit? No, ain't nothing out there for me. I was a kid and I knew that. But
Wow.
there are role models, positive and negative,
Right.
that be attracting our young men and teaching them what they should do and what they shouldn't do, depending on the situation.
Absolutely. And then those role models, they're acting out their own stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause I
Yeah.
don't think anyone was just no one grows up like, "Yeah, I just wanna be a drug dealer." Like, it 9 times out of 10, or even higher, right, has to do with
Mhm.
the reality. Now, you do have a few people sometimes who they just wanna be on, they want the other things, but, like,
Yeah.
that's a whole different type of life a person is signing up for, but not gonna go down that rabbit hole. So you kinda got into this, right? But, if you'll go a little bit more, talk about how your own relationship with, mental wellness, and I like the way you framed that, how that's evolved over time. You told us what made you shift, but, like, yeah, what's that been like from when you think about when you first recognized it?
Um, the pieces of my background weigh really, really heavy in terms of how I present myself.
Okay.
Uh, so just the stuff that isn't in the 3 sentence bio.
Right.
Growing up in an impoverished side of Yonkers, New York. Homeless shelters at the age of 7, being homeless 3 times before I'm 19. Um, being born with birth defects that labeled me the neighborhood cripple. I couldn't walk until I was 7.
Yeah.
Fast forward, having to leave my mother at 16 at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then not even speaking to her again until I was 32. No, 30. And then seeing her 2 years later, 32. So that's 16 years I hadn't even seen her.
Yeah.
And for 14 of those years, I didn't know where the hell she was.
I
All of
resonate
these
with that.
pieces, and then things going on in between that, I'm just glossing over and skipping over, led me to be that grown man who suffered from PTSD. And one of my coping mechanisms, as I said, when I said it earlier, I'm saying it from personal experience, was to shut down emotion. It was just to be
Yeah.
like, nah, I'm good. It wasn't until in my early, mm, no, late 30s, maybe early 40s, early 40s. I ended up with a therapist who told me that those were coping mechanisms to protect me because the adults weren't doing what they were supposed to do to protect me in that moment.
Oh, yeah,
And
that's
then
the thing.
she punched me dead in my throat after that. She said, "But you're the adult." She's like, "You don't got to cope like that. You can make whatever you want out of this world." I was like, "Oh, oh, she good."
Listen,
And that's what put me on. That's what opened my mind to the fact that I can actually live a different life.
um,
I didn't really get serious about therapy until I got into my 50s. So it took almost a full 10 years. Well, more, 6 to 8 years
yeah.
before I got serious, especially with the therapist I'm with now. But that's what opened up my eyes. And I was like, yeah, I'm sitting on some stuff and it ain't good. And it don't have to be like this. And I got to put in the work. Ugh, and
Yeah.
that's scary.
Yeah, it is scary, but living in survival mode is scary. It's just that one can become accustomed to it. Like you had to survive. Now realize that, oh, I don't have to do it this way anymore. And when you said that what your therapist said, I'm like, I've definitely had these conversations with clients before, right? To just like the awareness, but to really empower you that, like, when you were a child, you didn't have a choice. Like, you didn't choose to live in Yonkers in the conditions that you described. You didn't choose your parents, any of those things. So you adapted as best as you could. And then it's like, you're out of Yonkers, been out of Yonkers for quite some time, got some education, a little change in your pocket, you know what I mean? Like, you can literally live how you want to, and those things are evidence that you're capable. But
Yeah.
to connect with that, like that clear thought, like, oh, I am the adult. And like I have a client, I remind her almost every session, you make the rules. And she was like, yeah, I do. Like the first time. And so she's like, I remind myself of that like every day, like I make the rules now. I don't have
Hmm.
to live in this way, but you have to be willing to look at self as well as the people in your life who did the best
Absolutely.
they could and try not to judge. And some people don't know how to go back and sort through the facts without sprinkling judgment in there, right? It doesn't mean that they're a bad person, but sometimes we experience awful things. And so just like separating that is can be difficult.
Yeah, it's twofold. You gotta first start with understanding that your parented the best way they knew how. If they knew a better way, I'm hopeful that they would have done it better,
Yeah.
but they did it the best way they knew how.
Yeah.
The other fold to it is that the parents were dealing with their own traumas and
Yes.
coping in a way, and that's hard for us to when we're so deep in our own disdain for the people who raised us,
Mhm.
we lose sight of the fact that somebody raised them too.
Or
And this thing is really, really cyclical.
yeah, it is.
Um, my current therapist recommended a book for me, Adult Children of Emotionally Immature
Oh,
Parents,
yeah. Uh-huh.
Lindsay Gibson's book, to help me see, like, look, she she acted out in certain ways, and you expected her to be a mature parent, and she wasn't. But
She
there was a
didn't have
reason
it.
behind it.
Mhm.
Just like the stuff you putting all these women through, there's a reason why you're doing that. So if you could have a reason, why can't she have a reason? So that twofold piece is 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 recognizing both of those things and extending to everyone who's affecting you, extending it on the same grace that you want extended to you.
Yeah.
Because we want to be forgiven for everything, but we don't want to forgive people for when they do stuff to us. That makes no sense to me.
It doesn't,
Well,
and then also you're adding
understand
to it.
it.
You're
Yeah,
you're stacking up the trauma. You're not allowing yourself to heal, others to, give you that healing that you need with an apology. Like you preserve the trauma. An offense has
yeah,
happened. Nope.
yeah, yeah,
Reconciliation does not mean going back into relationship with people, but like people that we can keep rolling with their hurt. And then before you know it, it's like a trailer or two or three hitched onto the back of you.
yeah,
It's going
yeah.
everywhere.
And a lot of times we got to be okay with healing without getting the apology.
Ah, people make that the condition, but we do that. That's a limitation we place on it because we're saying it's not possible without the other person.
Hmm.
When if the person dies, they're no longer here or you never see them again, that doesn't mean you have to be stuck that way, but it's because you have a very limited belief about what healing and forgiveness looks like. Um, and what you said too about the parents, right? Like, one, that viewpoint, it created empathy. You being able to see her as a person, right? Like, as a
Yeah.
woman with limitations and with struggles and trauma. Um,
Hmm.
and from an attachment standpoint, right, like what happens is a child will adapt based on what their caregivers did and did not have, right? And so that's why some of the things they still get trickled down, even if they're maladaptive, but that's what they knew, that's what they were exposed to. And there's another book that I need to read that called It Didn't Start With You, because all of these things are patterns, they're conditionings. What's up? That's what you're
I got to
listening
make a
to?
note. I'm gonna make
Oh,
a note. You said it didn't start with you.
it didn't
I got to
start with
get that.
you. Mhm,
Okay.
mhm. Because I mean, it doesn't, and because parents, I think they parent look, we could probably do a whole other episode on just, like, parenting, right? And the impacts, but, like, because I think a lot of parents, they do it from a place of, like, authority, um, correction, and not as much connection or, like, bringing the balance, you think your parents know everything. You have this high bar set for them because of the bar they set for you, and they don't show themselves as human or flawed, or they don't try to connect. And it's about force, it's about authority, it's about power. And that's how, like, you miss a whole lot. And then you're figuring it out in your 30s and 40s.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think for us as men, growing up in communities that are largely led by women, then it creates this other dynamic where now I'm getting in a relationship with women,
Mhm.
but it a boy's first love is going to always be his mama. And if he can't value the relationship he had with his mama, then no woman stands a chance.
And I was gonna say on the other side of that, she could also be his first heartbreak.
Exactly. Because
Yeah.
when she's acting out in these emotionally immature patterns or doing things that are just outright destructive to that child, she
Mhm.
will be first love and first heartbreak.
Yep,
And
and
then every
over and
woman,
over again.
it's it was sick. Oh my God. Like I was putting y'all through it, Doc. I was putting y'all through it because I couldn't process and I didn't know I'm secure enough to present a certain way.
Uh huh. Because you
So
presented
when
well
you
every time I've known you. I've never heard anything messy, never saw anything, like, messy like that.
but it existed. It existed. But the piece for me though that really was the disruptive factor in the relationship is that you talked about attachments. I'm avoidant all the way. So I would at some point in time a flip of a switch would happen and then I would begin to withdraw.
You sure that's
And
not
that withdrawal,
disorganized? That's because you can do
say
both.
again?
I say, "You sure it's not disorganized?" That's when you do avoidant and anxious. Okay, just avoidant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No anxious. Full avoidant. And I would pull away and just be like, it's just, yeah, it is what it is.
Mm.
And that's not healthy. It's not healthy.
Mhm. Mhm. Y Yeah, for you or others, but it's not safe emotionally for you. That also will speak to, I think, maybe not having a emotionally safe space. So, Imma shut down for what? Like, why say anything?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was like, because we can really go into that more, but today's focus is more so like men and threats, but like that relationship with caregivers is key. And I haven't heard you mention your father. There's been focus on mom.
Yeah. Because I didn't live with my father.
Okay.
My- he was present in
Okay.
that if I needed to see him, I could.
So you had access.
Um, I had access, but he was not he wasn't really employed. I mean, he was an artist that that just didn't get out the projects.
But
Um,
why did you say artists like that?
because I'm dealing with I've processed it to think that the 60s, the 70s, and the early 80s, black men who had talents um that other communities could have flipped into gain in mass, our communities weren't given that space.
Absolutely.
Unless there was a token one pulled out of our community that the gatekeeper allowed in. And
Yeah.
then they could be like, see, it can be done. But in mass, the artists, the dancers, um, the people who could snatch stuff out of thin air, they couldn't really find their lane.
Yeah.
And if you're coming up in the projects or in the hood, then I'm gonna tell you, education is not a value commodity. So it's not like you're on top of that learning a trade that you could then exchange. So when he died, on his obituary, it said self-employed handyman. I was like, oh, they being so kind. I ain't never seen my father pick up a hammer once. Maybe he came through and screwed somebody's doorknob on. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so what you
But why
caught was
not
my
put an
internal
artist
conversation.
though? And I get what
Hmm?
you're saying. I said, "And why not artists?" Like, they say starving
Because
artists for a reason.
he hadn't done anything with his art. Like this is a whole other story.
Okay.
I think my father was a phenomenal artist. My mother was in school. she was living in a nice little neighborhood. He was living in the hood. So the hood and the hills came together,
Hood
and
in the
then
hills.
they came together. Got married, had my brother. Year and a half later, had me, and then 3 years after that, my father had a girl with someone else.
Oh,
And I think that was the tailspin. I don't know because the adults don't really talk
they
about it.
don't,
So I gotta
but you
put you,
can put that's easy math. Yeah.
but that's the tailspin because my mother, she never liked that man ever since until he died.
Ooh,
Until he died.
that's a
And
long
then
time
she
to
wanted to cry
carry
about how
that.
much she missed him. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Ma, it's too late. It's too late. Every time I'm with him, he's asking about you.
Yeah. So what I heard there, your mom also shut down, and then we turned it into anger, into bitterness, instead of
Yeah.
dealing
Yeah.
with the thing, processing and letting it go. So she held it for
Mm-hmm.
however many decades or whatever, and then now she miss him. Girl, you could have let that go a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Could have.
deal with it, but she didn't have that skill of how do
She
you
did.
deal with it? How do you still love someone even though they've done this awful thing, right? This betrayal essentially because they were
Yeah.
married and then you popped up with a sister.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay. I'm just listen, it's a
Yeah.
thing. It was stuff going on back in the day.
It was. It
Um,
was.
I mean, it's still stuff going on today. Let's be honest. I know a few people that got some stories to tell. But
Yeah.
we're gonna stay on topic. What are some of the most, in your opinion, what are some of the most damaging stereotypes you believe that society places upon Black men?
Um, that we are dangerous and to be feared.
Mm,
Um, that we are intellectually um, subpar. Uh, that we are only good at athletics and
mhm.
music. Uh,
Don't
I
forget
think
comedy.
combination of those well, comedy.
Mm,
Um, what I see, and I see most of that when we're grown. What I have seen in the school system, especially elementary, middle, high school, that these boys are feared. Um, they are irrationally feared.
yeah.
So, and you see that with the disproportionate suspensions and discipline that's doled out to little Black boys for doing the same thing that every other student is doing in that classroom. I liken it. I like it. I call them the pit bulls of the playground because everyone has this, I believe, irrational fear when it comes to pit bulls.
Uh-huh.
They look at them and they look brolic and they look scary and they look angry. But there was a time in America where pit bulls were referred to as nanny dogs because they were the
Really?
ones who would guard your kids. You could
Mm,
even find black and white images of pit bulls just standing there with a baby sitting right next to them. Even the data doesn't suggest that pit bulls are the most violent dog in America, but they have this fear, and it's the same when it comes to these little boys. They have a fear of young Black boys, and instead of just pouring into them, there's this just backlash that just smacks them up, and then it starts that cycle because now that little boy can't trust this system of the system of adults
mhm.
in a school that's supposed to be there for him.
Yeah.
But there is this. I remember when I was in high school, I was interviewing for some program that would get us summer jobs, and it shows up like this. Oh my God, you're just so articulate.
And you can hear the tone. Mhm.
So you had a stereotype that I would come up in here saying any old thing. I was 16 at the time.
Mhm.
So we have to deal with that. We also have to deal with with our um challenge with addressing things that we have control over.
Okay.
There's some things we have control over. in terms of when presented an option of how we're going to interact with people or react to people. I understand trauma coping mechanisms may not exist, and trauma may force us to behave in certain ways. But we got to at least discuss that so that we can provide resources so that people can do things that are more appropriate in the
Yeah.
environments we find ourselves in, and not get caught up on that. Oh, this is respectability politics. No, this is a matter of survival right now. This is a matter of survival right now. I'm not saying you got to smile up in these people's faces, but you ain't got to knock no one over the head either.
And
So,
there's a whole lot in between smiling and knocking them over the head, and that's being authentic, right? And something that I heard, and you jogged a memory, but I can't remember what it was, but someone else used a pit bull reference in a similar
mhm,
way. But as you were describing it, and I'm just thinking about boys, right? Like there are still black boys who clearly don't look like a threat. Right, like a pit bull is strong. It can look threatening, but like a lot of it is what I do with animals. I can look a dog in their eyes and know if I'm gonna approach or cross
mhm,
the street.
mhm,
But like a child is a child. And it's really unfortunate that people cannot see our boys as children. It does not matter how tall they are. You can look at a child and see a child. And for people to be blind to that or choose to be blind to that or focus on other things and to villainize them just for their existence,
mhm.
that's awful. It's awful. Like some of these children literally look non-threatening.
So let me add a wrinkle to that.
Mhm.
Have you ever seen an angry child who just looks angry for no reason, just scrunched up face, just walking down the street, eating a Cheeto? Have you ever seen anything like
When I was a kid, I thought so, but as an adult, I say no because I know better.
that? Now, I have. Oftentimes, that child is with a parent. And what I from the outside looking in, what I am perceiving is that here is a parent that is struggling with everything they've got to struggle with, and then sometimes may take it out on the child.
Absolutely.
And now the child has been molded, hardened, even where
Yeah.
I'm seeing a year old, just a scowl on his face.
Yeah.
One of the side things that I do, photography and lifestyle photography, portraiture. One of the biggest pieces would be family photos. And when I get a mother yelling at a kid for doing something that kids do,
Yep.
they jumping up and down in a puddle because he's jumping in a puddle with his good clothes on. And now, as the photographer, I got to make this crying boy smile.
Right.
That's stuff that he internalizes and he takes with him. And that's just that one situation.
Yeah.
That's a mother who can afford a photo shoot. For these other mothers who can barely afford to just breathe,
Yeah.
and they are dealing with their own trauma, and their coping mechanisms aren't fully there. The household itself could be a breeding ground for anger.
Absolutely.
So I see that child stepping into a classroom with the same scowl on his face. And as opposed to a teacher trying to help the child, save the
Understand.
child,
Mhm.
understand the child, provide opportunities for the child to decompress in this moment.
Yeah.
I've seen teachers look at that and be fearful of it.
And judge it and label it without investigating. So what you
Yep.
said, Rasheem, we're on the same viewpoint because I know that's not for no reason. It's because of the parent. So that's why I said when I was before, I would say no reason. But now that I know better, right? Like there's no such thing as a bad child.
Yeah. No.
They are acting
Absolutely.
out what they are seeing and or experiencing unless there is some other medical issue
Mhm.
that explains it. And people aren't taking the time to care about these children because there are children of the majority who exhibit far worse behavior. And they're like, oh, that's just boys being boys. What? They just threw firecrackers in the toilet or something crazy or whatever, right? Like someone else would have done that. It's a whole other outcome, right? Like, oh, they're just being mischief. Just think about the show. You remember that cartoon, Dennis the Menace?
Absolutely.
And Dennis lived to menace another day
Mhm.
for however
Let that have
long
been
that series.
Dante's. Mhm.
It wouldn't have been a show about it because he would have been in prison. He would have been in juvie. But
Mhm.
yeah, so yeah, just like not having that space and that it matters who's in the classroom with these children because another part that's here going back with the pit bull thing and even what you're saying that what's happening in the classroom because in school we know about the school to prison pipeline, right? This is a thing of identity. So if you can start to condition a child that they're bad, that they're misbehaving, they're all whatever these things are that are not positive, right? Like
Mhm.
already we're shifting their identity and they start to latch on to this thing. Well, maybe I may as well do this and that. So they start, excuse me,
That's all right. Let it
they
out.
start to they start to like open themselves up to things that they probably never would have done because those things align more with this new identity, this thing they're hearing over and over again. And even the photo shoot thing, that sends a message that the clothes are more important than the person in them having the experience. Those could have been beautiful photos, candid photos, that joy and it's so quick, like, we're so going back to that correction connection thing, right? Like, you're stealing his joy. He saw a
Mhm.
puddle. He wanted to splash. I get it. Just splash when we done. We gotta take these photos first.
Yeah. And and they could have been wonderful photos. Like,
Yeah.
if he did not stop and show fright and fear on his face in that moment, I would have had my camera. Like,
And this
but
becomes a young boy who turns into a man who's fearful to make moves, who's rigid. He's not even comfortable to express in his body. He's gonna second guess doing something that's gonna make him smile and feel so
yeah,
good. And he just
yeah. We
won't.
that's one of those things that we part of that conditioning you asked about earlier. We can experience joy as black men, but we cook that up in our own minds based on these experiences we have.
Yep. So it wasn't cooked, it was programmed, it was conditioned.
Yep,
And so,
yep,
like you said earlier with your therapist, you all, Black men, you can
yeah,
choose joy. I know we
yeah.
still have to pay attention and watch our surroundings because Black women, we have our own version of that too, that we have to be mindful of. However,
Hmm.
we can choose joy. So that fear, let's move into that a little bit more. So it's been established that you think fear does have a role with the black experience, right? And it's particularly with young black men. So what does that look like or how does that shape how we're treated in schools, workplace, and even relationships? So we talked a little bit about it, but let's look into some of those other spaces.
Yeah. Like in general, I just believe that you always fear what you don't understand.
Okay.
And we are a misunderstood group of people. I think you have other elements like internalized um white supremacy at play, um, internalized black inferiority at play, and just flat out. And I'm talking about now my own experience coming out of Yonkers, flat out racism at play, just straight racism. Um, and then there's this hierarchy that is now put in place where depending on where you are within that hierarchy will determine if you will be treated as a human.
Uh-huh. There we go.
And if you aren't high on a totem pole, then I am just tolerating you. And with that, with just being tolerated opens the door to being mistreated.
Yeah, because tolerated is also means you're disposable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could just get another one of you.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Or I'd be happy if they want any of you here.
Yeah, that
Like
other you should be happy to be here. You should be more
like the
grateful.
what's that bald headed man's name who works for the current president, Stephen Miller? He said he'd be happy if the rest of it he had like a few 100,000 white men in America who thought and looked like him. I'm
Okay.
paraphrasing.
Right.
But the devaluing of what we offer to America because you overvalue what you offer or what your community offers, as if we can all offer things in our own ways. It's a zero sum game that a lot of them play. In order for
Yeah.
them to be on top, someone else has to be on the bottom. And that is showing up even in our schools, even though it may not be intentional on the teacher's part or the administrator's part. And they are acting out, some of them, their own subconscious biases.
Yeah.
They think they doing good. Look at me. I'm working in this community. But are you working in yourself?
But you're doing
Did you work in
damage in
here
this
first?
community. Mhm.
So, um, so it goes back to you always fear what you don't understand, and they don't understand us. If
Here's
they
the
think
thing,
we are, go ahead, you think what?
'cause I'm like, here's the thing. We were minding our business on the continent, and here they come. I have a hard time now saying they don't understand us. Actually, they understand us very well, and they use that
Mm,
to control, manipulate us in a way that gets transferred down intergenerationally. And they can, and
you're
it's
right.
so insidious because their hands, their fingerprints aren't directly on it today, but they planted
Hmm.
seeds that are still bearing fruit from way back when. They know us very well, and they know if they can get in here and get us to think they're inferior, we are inferior, they don't have to do the work of it. Or if you really, when you think about it, even when you're watching movies, when
Yeah.
you see that competition between two, the approach is to create doubt in the other person's mind. And they
Mm,
project that they're superior. It's all psychological.
very much so.
Yeah,
Very
because
much
if
so.
they can
It's
get you to
all in
believe
the
it, they
home.
don't need to do anything else. You'll do the rest of the work for them.
Hmm. Hmm. That's an old Carter G. Woodson quote was about you no longer have to tell a black man to go to the back door
Uh-huh.
because we have been socialized to know we got to go to the back door.
Yeah,
And if there
yeah.
is no back door, we will build one.
That's deep. The
I'm
fact that
here.
you'll build it instead of
There's no
just
back
walking
door
in the front.
instead of just walking in the front.
But that also speaks though to the ingenuity of us too, right? Like we're gonna build it. We can make it. We can do it. Because why else would you bring all of these people over, do a whole transatlantic? We okay. We're gonna stop there. We'll
We ain't got
save
time
that
for
for
that.
another.
We ain't got
Nope.
time for
Nope. We'll.
that.
Mm-hmm. So everything there's a reason, and it's right here in our faces, and we're
Hmm.
it's the ultimate gaslighting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And trying to make us think we're crazy for what we're seeing.
Absolutely.
Same thing when we work on behalf of these little boys and these little black girls in the school system, and then the system's trying to make us think we're crazy that we don't see these children being, for lack of a better word, abused
Yeah.
by the system
Yeah. And sometimes
and
the
and trying to make us,
actual teachers and staffs by small and subtle things that are being said and done in the classroom.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I'm sick of it. It's been going on for forever.
Yeah, it has
Like,
been. It has been. So, what do you think are some of the consequences? And I think we started to go in there organically of constantly being misunderstood or misrepresented.
Um, well, consequences, of course, you're going to be locked. We're going to be locked out of opportunities. Um, so we'll have to create our own spaces, as we should anyway, as we did prior to the grand idea of integration. Uh, but because we do not control the power structure,
Okay.
even in creating our own spaces, it exists at the will of someone else, because we have seen our own spaces created
Mhm.
and destroyed.
Cuz people don't mind their business.
So, consequences, we're going to be locked out. We continue to be locked out. We continue to fight for our place at the table. Um, we also continue to see generations of youth being discarded.
Mm.
Like, you talked about the prison, the school of prison pipeline.
Yeah.
Like, they're still investing in prisons.
Yeah, they are.
And my fear is that in this current political climate, they are comfortable trying to deport everybody and then taking a hatchet to education so that we can create a permanent underclass in America. And then our babies will have to do the work that the deported people are no longer here to do, because business still needs their fruit picked.
Yeah. I think there's a really big gap in that because when you look back at who last time I checked, the highest recipients of like TANF, SNAP benefits, it's not
Mhm.
us. It's not us.
It's not us.
It's not
No,
us.
it's not us. But they have done a great job convincing America that it is us. And it's their racism that's leading them to support those people and make those changes. But those red states, in those communities, in those red states, they're gonna miss out. I mean, but this is what they wanted. But
Yeah.
I think, they can continue doing what they're doing because they believe that if they get rid of the immigrants and we take a hatchet to education, these young black people won't have no other option if they want a job but to do this this labor work. They
Mm,
want to create a permanent, I believe it looks like they're trying to create a permanent underclass.
yeah. And
And
here's the
not
thing
not for them to
about
put their
it.
own people.
So children that are growing up right now, let me see somewhere in adolescent. So these are people who are seeing two things. They're seeing the extremely successful, highly educated, but then they're being um witnessing all of these things that are happening that are creating fear. Like what you're saying, you
Hmm.
see what they're doing to the education system. They're seeing people being deported. They're seeing that certain things are dangerous. And so they're planting a seed. No, 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 we don't do that. Remember, I talked about those seeds and bearing fruit for years to come. So
Hmm.
now they're doing
Hmm.
another version of that, but it's like now they're targeting the immigrant population, which
Hmm.
that's going to have multiple lines because that's going to that taps into other countries as well. Again, another episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
So many topics in here, but just like what they're doing is that it's instilling some fear and it can change what has become kind of like normalized and what has been seen and just we had President Obama, we had we still have, Kamala Harris, vice
Hmm.
president. So what's a common thing in there? Education. So if people don't have access to education like that anymore, we don't have to worry about this coming up again. Let's snuff this out now So then this won't
Right.
be a issue 3, 4 generations later, maybe even 2 in some households.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's deep. It's deep. So go ahead.
No, I'm saying and depressing. That's what I was thinking.
Uh,
It's deep and depressing because
yeah,
we've been fighting this fight forever.
all right. And
Forever.
what goes off in my mind, and I had like have to remember that God is on the throne.
Hmm.
He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And we know that, yeah, even in the Bible, the children of Israel, they went through it. They were enslaved. He led them out. Some of them wanted to go back kicking and screaming because they had meat to eat, forgetting all the awful things that had been done to them. And that they had cried out and asked God to be delivered, right? But just that there's the milk in the land of milk and honey is still there, right? And God's promises, they are true. And so I think that's a good segue. How has your relationship with God influenced your ability to heal?
Um, Actually, a piece of it lies in what you just alluded to. Because what has always stuck with me
Mhm.
is the word hardened. Because while the children of Israel were going through what they were going through, trying to come up out of Egypt by God's grace, God also hardened the heart of
Of Pharaoh,
Pharaoh.
so they couldn't go.
So he was going to continually be an obstacle
Yeah.
to God's promises. A part of this is me accepting there're going to be challenges. There're going to be obstacles. It's going to be messy, and I'm not going to get anything easy in this work. And I think knowing that on the front end prepares me because when these things pop up and they attack my mental wellness,
Yeah.
I don't go over the deep end. I don't go over the deep end. I used to work with a woman back in New York who was a therapist, and she said we are all one traumatic event away from major psychosis. She said everybody,
I mean,
and
anything
she
can
said it
happen that
depends.
can change all of us.
Right, and she said it depends. And she said you got to really take care of your mental wellness so that when you are coming up against these challenges, that you don't go over the cliff. And she
Yeah.
said more specifically for me, it's like you're genetically predisposed, so you really got to take care of yourself. My mom was schizophrenic, bipolar, and just lived in depression and
Yeah.
wouldn't take her medication, none of that. Uh, so so that understanding, which for me is scriptural, says God's got me, but it ain't gonna be easy.
Yeah. And there's scripture
The
that says
other,
that too. Yeah.
yeah, it and for me it works because I have had such a hard life.
Mm.
And I've had connections with people who have given up because they couldn't process that. They couldn't understand that.
Mhm.
So I anchor myself into that. But then um come all the way through to Christ, it's all about grace.
Yeah.
It's all about grace. And I have got to give myself as much grace as possible because I'm not gonna get this right every time. I'm not gonna be okay every time. And you know what? Neither is she, and neither is he, and neither will they. So it's something that has to come in and spread outward. And if I can do those things, like it's gonna be a struggle, and then give people space to make mistakes, including yourself, it's gonna be okay. All of that comes from scripture for me,
Yeah.
and all of that kind of conducts me through my own mental health and mental wellness experiences.
Awesome. That's so good. That's so good. Um, 'Cause there's so much in there, and I think sometimes when we don't, like, know the word and we just know the struggle, like, that's where the
Yeah,
enemy wants to come right in that gap and to be like, "God doesn't love you. See? Why would he let this happen to you?" Like, and have you questioning things, and it's like, that's not even what's going on. If you know the word, though, that you know that there's gonna be difficulties, there's nothing that says life is going to be easy. Well, it says my yoke is easy, but Um, it tells about ease and struggle. There's both.
There's both.
There's both.
There's going to always be both.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in each scripture has a purpose and a reason.
Yeah.
And some will teach the lesson about ease, some will teach the lesson about struggle, and there's some that'll teach both lessons at the same time because the Bible is in conversation with itself.
Yes.
And sometimes we'll be reading things and be like, well, I just read this over here, that over there. And then we've got to lean on our relationship with God in prayer to discern what the lesson is there.
Uh-huh.
Because even that's not going to be easy,
Yeah.
understanding that book.
And, sometimes different contexts, the word applies. It's the living word. So that's how it was applied in that moment. But also, we're not supposed to lean on our own understanding. You're absolutely right. I agree. In prayer to just like ask God for clarity on it. What do you want me to get from this? Show me how this applies to where I am, what I have going on, all those things. But sometimes we want it to be so black and white, but, like, we haven't really welcomed God in to say, "God, like, come into this space," right? Like, and what is it?
Yeah.
If you, he that have hold on, how does it go? He who has ears, let him hear. He who
Hmm.
has eyes, let him see. And we've not surrendered our ears and eyes sometimes to God, and then we wonder why we can't understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, speaking of, what role do you believe churches or spiritual communities play in supporting Black men and or maybe even fail in supporting Black men?
Um, I think we can do a better job opening our doors to the Black man that isn't typically coming to church.
Okay, say more about that.
Um, they, there are a lot of Black men have so many questions about what is preached, what they read, how they understand it, or the lack thereof, and it puts them in a position where they're going to be extremely critical of religion and Christianity because the role it played
Okay.
in our enslavement.
Uh-huh.
And some of our churches are scared to let that Black man in the door because they don't want to be questioned. They got an issue with someone saying, well, if the Bible says, how come dot, 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 dot? I think the door should be open to them. I think they should be sought after.
Yeah, because this
Um,
is a person showing curiosity. Could be. But
Jesus
some
said,
people are
I will
there to
leave.
be divisive too.
Some people are there to be divisive, but there are people there who just need understanding.
Yeah.
And when you push back on their genuine desire to understand, that could lead them to being divisive.
Yeah, that
And
too.
we may not know front. We may not know up front. What I'm saying is don't run from them until you do.
Have a
Engage them.
conversation. Yeah.
Bring them in.
Yep.
It, like accept their questions. And also, if the response to the question is, I don't know, then you know what? Just say you don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes we feel like we got to have an answer. We don't. Sometimes it's like, yeah, I don't know. I might have to look into that and get back to you.
Yeah.
And they may respect that more than because it's in the Bible, because the Bible said so.
But you know what that
I had an
is.
old
You're not
minister,
gonna respond well to that energy.
and I need the church to respond well to that energy.
Yeah, because it's given because I said so, which goes back to more
Yeah,
correction than connection.
yeah. I had a old minister way back in the day who said, yeah, Christians go by the Bible. They put it on their coffee table and they go right by it. You're not picking it up, not picking up and reading it, not really
Yeah,
going deep, not looking at historical context, not looking at cultural context, not looking at where the Bible contradicts itself. There are spaces where the Bible will and fearful to have that conversation. I believe that my God is bigger. So I'm not scared to have conversation, anyone about it. Even if it's at a point where I can't answer a question, I can't, I don't know. Let me look. Let me bring someone who's been doing this a little bit longer than me. Let's connect. Let's have more dialogue.
Yeah.
And while I got you, while you're in the door and we're having dialogue, that then gives me an opportunity to do for you what Jesus did for the people that he came in contact with.
Yeah.
Jesus took care of everybody. They weren't all of the Jewish faith. There was no Christian faith at the time.
Jews
He
and
was acting,
Gentiles.
there were Jews and Gentiles, there were Sabians,
Yep.
there were a whole bunch of different religions,
Yeah.
and he was fulfilling Hebrew prophecy.
Yeah.
He didn't surround himself with a bunch of Hebrews. Like, I'm only going to hook up with the Hebrews. I'm only going to help the Hebrews. He accepted and then he healed, he taught, heal these people. They ain't got to believe what you believe. They ain't got to be a Christian. They ain't have to have accepted Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior for them now to get a resource from you. Because what's going to happen is that boy will pick up the Bible and he will see all the examples of people in the Bible that actually reflect his life. And he will see how Jesus did everything for those people. But this church won't. So accept these boys who are on the fringes, have them in, have conversation with them, and then work to healing them. I mean, we can get to the proselytizing later. We can get to that. But do you need food? Do you need clothes? Is there something going on with your mental health and we can connect you to professionals? Do you need me to be an advocate for you at your school because they acting wild over there? What can I do to make this life better for you before I come with the sales pitch and a Bible in my hand? I think that's where we get it twisted.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what we get it twisted.
I mean, I think a very big part of this is showing the character of Jesus. That's really what it is, and I also get, right, like, there are some people, holidays are coming up, they have their list of the churches they're gonna hit up for those holiday baskets, right? That's different than the person coming in the door with the question. You can also feel if it's a more of a divisive energy that they're coming with versus curiosity, and even how you said it. Sometimes it's in the question, right? The role of Christianity and enslavement. It wasn't that, it was how it was misused. It's the people who distorted it,
Mhm,
which is a big difference. But people will put it on the religion, and it's like, no, the Bible is still the same. It's how it was used. That gaslighting, that manipulation that I was talking about, like, it's the same
mhm,
thing, but anything can be, people can try to twist it in the craziest of ways. We see people do this all the time. We see it at work. We see people doing it
mhm.
on TV and dating, like all these things where they're just taking things and twisting it. And then I think it's more of a personal thing, like, why are you susceptible to it? But then it's like, you're talking about, I ain't gonna even go there. I'm gonna leave that alone. But
There.
it's all right. It's like, it's all, look, again, I think we got like 3 episodes already in here that we could come back to without getting too far. But just like, yeah, I think people are just mad and they need a focus or somewhere to put that negative energy. And sometimes it's misplaced or
Yeah.
they misunderstand. Or just because there's anybody that doesn't look like us involved, then it's evil. So like, or it's a bad thing. Yeah, it's just like completely, it's like it's very binary, all or nothing, black or white.
Mhm,
So like even
mhm.
with like I was watching Shirley last night on Netflix, right? So when Shirley Chisholm went to go visit George Wallace, and people were like, "Oh my gosh, like how could she do this? She's not black. I thought she was black." She's a Christian first. She really exhibited the love, the character of Christ in that moment and said, "Pray for me." Like, and I'm gonna keep praying for you. You know what I mean? Like, she recognizes that it's not hate, but people think it has to be all or nothing, love or hate, when all of those people that are hard to love, like the George Wallaces of the world, right? Like,
Hmm.
they still need prayer because God is the only thing that's likely gonna be able to change. God is the only thing that can change them. And then even they have to be in agreement with that. And then sometimes things have to happen to put them on their knees to see, or if not, well, they kicking it with the
Look,
devil.
I don't got the power to send nobody to hell.
Yeah,
I don't. So
that's up to
I'll do
each of
what I'm
us.
supposed to do.
Mhm.
Right. So I'll do what I'm supposed to do, what I've been called to do, and then leave that with them in the Lord.
Yeah. Yep.
At the same time, extending grace, because I also know what I have done in this world,
I
and I got
Make sure you
grace.
forgive yourself.
I got grace.
Okay.
So it would be ridiculous for me not to extend it.
Yeah.
Be ridiculous. Now, I ain't gonna be no fool. I
Right.
was like, you take the grace on over there.
Discernment is real.
Yeah. You give a God. Y'all work that out. But you
Uh-huh.
ain't gotta
You
you don't
know,
have to be here with me.
in Titus, is it Titus 3:10 that it talks about how to deal with divisive people, right? But obviously I know Jesus came back and said, we're forgiven 70 times 7 and so on and so on.
Mhm.
But like still some people that's what they're choosing to do.
Yeah.
So what would it look like to create safe spaces where Black men feel safe enough to be vulnerable? And when I say vulnerable, I mean emotionally. We're not talking about physical safety because a lot of
Yeah.
people they
Yeah.
struggle with that word vulnerable because then that means you're susceptible to threats. And we're saying just emotionally to be present, to not suppress, to be authentic, to embody, emote, express what they
Mhm.
are actually experiencing and feeling.
Well, I believe we've got to be encouraged to express ourselves because sometimes we don't even feel like there's space for us to do it on the front end.
Mm,
So I think the positive encouragement is good, but then after that, making sure that what we expressed is received and not criticized,
okay.
um, not belittled,
Yeah.
not judged. If you do those things, then I'm going to stonewall, and then I am not going to share. But
And I would say even though you all appear to be emotionally shut down, you all are very sensitive because you know very quickly if this is a space I can. You're gonna pick up that whatever that
hmm
tone is quick. Mhm.
yep, yeah, if that can happen, that lays a good foundation. But this is something that has to be practiced over and over and over and over and over again for
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
to be fully comfortable in doing it. Um,
And depending on the
and it
level of a person's trauma and their experiences, I think that has a big thing to do with it. Like a big part, a huge
absolutely,
influence.
absolutely, because when I was young, when I was going through the thick of everything, and it was apparent that I was going through it,
Yeah.
and I had adults pull me into a room, like, tell me what's going on. How can we help you? And even though they clearly had never said a bad thing to me, they had always been supportive, never criticized me, always encouraged me.
Uh-huh.
I still could not open my mouth to talk about the stuff that was going on.
Because that
I just couldn't do.
programming and the threat of what will happen when it got back home. And
Mm-hmm.
the what goes on in this house stays in this house. You was out here telling our business. So if it's already bad without you
Yeah.
talking, it's going to get worse when you do talk. Not understanding interventions and what could happen, or then also feeling the burden of what will happen then to my caregiver if I say something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much that kids carry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, providing that space and coupled with what you said, depends on what they're going through. That
Mhm.
that might determine how many times we got to go back to the well with them. Like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
you, you're free to say whatever you want here. It's a judgment free zone. It's okay. Got to continue to hammer that home with us.
And you can't tell a person you can't talk a person into feeling safe. It's an
No, no,
experience that
absolutely,
has to
absolutely
happen,
not.
and so what happens is that people think, "Oh, I said it's a safe space." You think that they're supposed to put down 10, 15, however many years of conditioning depending upon when you enter their life in that moment
Doesn't
because
work.
you said it was safe. No, they
Yeah,
need to
it's
see
not.
it. They need data. So that's here's the other part about this. While you all as Black men, who are shut down, you gained a superpower though on the other side of that. Like then that hypervigilance, you're able to read people very quickly, you're able to collect data, you're able to pivot and know how to move. Like there are powers that come out of it, but like it's disproportionately high. And
Yeah,
it's unfortunate the way in which the superpower was formed. It doesn't have to
yeah.
go away, but then when you learn to create safety within yourself and you do the work and like your therapist said, like, you're the adult now, you can allow the child you to shine and lead because adult you can protect him. And that goes for
Mm-hmm.
any woman
That's
that's
good.
listening to this. Yeah. But we don't, it's
That's good.
all or nothing, right? Like, and it's just like, and that's been a huge part of my transformation. Like, I have this particular photo of me that I see her, and I was like, that's who's coming out. She's so much fun. Like, I always thought I was fun, but like, she takes up space. She commands attention. She's a light. She beams, right? And so it's just like, I had to put her away for a little while because,
Mm.
like, she got me in trouble a little bit when I went it's perceived trouble,
Right,
right? Because I went
right.
into a different environment with my aunt, and she's like, "Nah, nah, nah, tone that down." That's what I mean when I say it got me in trouble, but there was sometimes my mouth was a little yep, just a little bit. But I know how to manage her and regulate her, and I got the things my aunt was bringing balance, but it swung from one end to the other, and it was so fast that I didn't know what to do with her, and so now I finally come back to the middle, but that's been has a lot to do with my identity in Christ and really just letting him define me and not what I think I should be doing, and because we get shoulded on our whole life and we should on ourselves, and
Mhm.
just figuring out how to be in the middle of all that, taking in what our parents told us, understanding that they're human, and just like, what do I want? I know all the things. What do I want? What does that look like? And creating that safety within self, I think, are hugely important.
Yeah. There was another piece that I wanted to add
Come on.
when you questioned about pretty much what can the church do, what can the ministries do.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Something I always share. Um, know your lane.
Okay. Say
Know your
more.
lane.
Say more.
Um, Ministers aren't mental health professionals.
I'm lucky mine is, but not everybody has
You
that.
not everyone has it,
Yeah.
and most of them don't.
Yep.
Um, don't let no minister diagnose you.
Mm.
They could pray for you and on you all they want, but they also have got to be able to encourage you and support you with getting help from professionals, the people who are trained and
Yep.
certified,
Yep.
know what they're talking about. This stuff is neurological, it's biological, it's chemical, and just because you was called to preach, don't mean you know anything about this.
Yeah.
God told me to tell you. God can tell that to him. He don't need to tell you to tell him. So just pray for him and then send them to the professionals.
That's good. Well,
So that's one of the pieces
and
that I
you're
like to
you're
add.
you're getting on I think that's a whole other topic, like the coexistence of faith and mental health. and it doesn't have
Yeah.
to be an or. And I think that's why I forget how many, oh gosh, it might be closer to 10 years ago now that I'm thinking about it, but Howard introduced the dual
Mhm.
MSW Masters of Divinity.
Yeah.
Hugely
That's needed.
important. Yeah, you need
That is
both.
needed.
You need both.
That is needed because people are bringing their trauma to the church. And a lot of us are getting dopamine fixes, but we're not getting fixes to our issues. We're getting high off of praise. We're getting high off of hallelujahs. And then we're walking back into the same trauma.
With no
So
additional
that joint,
skills.
no skills, nothing learned.
Yeah, because we
So
gotta
I think
navigate
that,
it.
yeah, that's an intentional piece that I love.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, "I get it. I see how it makes sense." And there we had no problem with people coming over into that program. And I met some
Hmm.
other really dope people, um, who were doing that, and they are working as, like, ministers and, like, as social workers. So, like, I think it's a great balance. But when you think about it, like, ministry is social work, except you get the mental health piece of it, and that a lot of people I don't think they understand that about a master's of social work. Like, your bachelor's is not gonna get as much into it, but, like, that master's of social work, that's where you're getting deep into that, if you take the mental health track and, like, understanding it and what it looks like in community, all these wonderful things. Okay. So, what would you say to brothers who are silently suffering but feel like they can't talk to anyone?
Mm, I would encourage them to find some type of outlet
Okay,
uh, that doesn't necessarily require them to flip a switch and immediately be able to talk to somebody.
that's good.
Uh, I encourage the arts. I encourage writing. I
Yes.
encourage if you want to do spoken word or you want to rap about it or you want to pick up a sampler and make beats that express what you're. I encourage looking for some way of expressing your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions.
Yeah.
Um, and if you continue to do that, you may become comfortable enough to at that point say, well, I wrote this because I was going through that. Or it may not be that you write. Maybe you pick up a book and you start reading a bunch of things that kind of serve you in a particular way.
Mhm.
So people are like, well, why did you pick that book? Because I was going through X.
And you identify with the character storyline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So they can be expressive without sitting on the proverbial sofa. So I encourage that, but and that's also I encourage creativity across the board. I think everyone's got at least one book in them, and I'm not talking about 10 steps to XYZ. I'm talking about something creative. I think everyone has at least one novel in them, and I encourage people kind of finding out what that is,
But you're
and
a
however
writer.
long or short it is,
I think that's
make
easy
it
to
happen.
say. But when you think about it, in
It's hard,
school, we all could have written one. That doesn't mean it's gonna be a New York Times bestseller. Like, we
right?
all you're right, we have stories that we can tell, whether it's fictitious, something we've observed, and we add onto it our own. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
The overwhelming majority of human beings dream. They go to sleep at night
We all
and they have
we
multiple
dreams.
dreams. There's,
We just
there's
may not
some people who
remember them.
claim
They just don't
some
remember
people
them.
claim not to, but you may remember bits and pieces,
So
and
you
that
dream. Mhm.
your subconscious mind is creating stories all the time. I'm just saying that there are some resources out there and some practices that can help us cultivate a story. And once you get a story idea, then it's just about the mechanics
So are you
of
gonna come
fleshing it.
back and do an episode on how to write your first book and how we're all creators?
I'll do one even better. Not just write it, but also then to publish it because I'm an independent publisher.
Okay, let's
Once
go.
you have your once you have your book, you can have it out there in the world within 72 hours.
Well, Imma talk to you because 'cause I've been working on a few things. Come on, 72.
Then let's look, and I say 72 just to give you a little more space. To be honest, it could be out there in 48 hours, but you will need to have a complete package. And I will be able to show you the resources you need to make sure you have a complete package. Everything that a publisher would do, you can do. not you do it, but you have the ability to contract with the vendors who will be able to do everything the publishers will do.
Understood.
You need copy editors, copy editor. You need
Do
a layout
you
person, layout.
do you have this already packaged and ready to go? Where can people find this and consume this? Asking for myself.
I I did do during the pandemic I did do online workshop. I need to go through my hard drives to
Was
see
it
where the
recorded?
recording.
Okay, I was
Yeah,
gonna
it is
say,
recorded. I got to go through my hard drives to see where the recording is. I know I have it. And then that gives you
it sounds
everything.
like you
Everything a person will need.
just got another book.
Well, I'm thinking about putting that together in a quick course. Just something someone will click on and
Yeah,
just kind of go through step by step.
yeah,
So from beginning to end, here's how you write your book and get it published.
Imma need that, and I'm sure somebody listening, several somebodies listening needed to, just to make
Hmm.
it yeah, make it a thing. You saying 48 to 72 hours is out there.
You just need a complete package.
Yep, and you'll give
That's the
us a
hard
step.
part.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was about to say, eh, just because sometimes people can have the package, but that mindset blocks them from doing it. That battle of just like, that last pull, pull the lever, push the button.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That fear
Yeah.
of stepping off the cliff.
Yep.
But I anyone who might be in that space, I encourage you to press the button.
Okay.
Press
Okay.
the button.
So, what myths or lies about Black masculinity would you like to dismantle today?
We don't all play sports. I mean, I'm going to go basic.
We're
We don't
not
all
all
play sports.
entertainers. Yeah.
We're not all entertainers. We're not all basketball players. We're not all rappers and singers and dancers. And some of us created the telephone, and some of us created the filament for the light bulb, and some of us created the super soaker, or sisters created the GPS that we use in our
I was
car. You know
thinking
what I'm
about
saying?
her. Yeah.
So um, just allow people to show you who they are. But then that's also my message to these young men, that you don't have to follow what popular culture puts in front of you,
Yeah.
because we don't control what gets passed in front of us, and it's very intentional, the images that are being shown.
And the
It's
audio.
okay to, in the audio, it's okay to think outside the box. It's okay to be creative, to do something new, something different. Flip side, this myth that this over sexualized
Yep.
experience that we are, that not everybody is with that. And young boy, not everybody is with that. So it's okay to not want to be with every woman who says, every young girl who says she wants to be with you. You don't have to be with her.
Or
And
that you
oftentimes
see and are attracted to that you have to go chase.
you have to go.
Yep.
There are plenty of experiences where young ladies have bought the lie that if they put it out there in front of the guy, he has got to take it. He wants to take it. He will take it. I feel like Jack Nicholson in that movie. But the reality is there are a lot of boys who are being pressured into sex because they're trying to stand up to this image of what it means to be to come into your manhood.
Yeah.
It's okay to say no.
Yep.
It is absolutely all right to say no. You
Yeah.
are not meant to sleep with everything that wants to sleep with you.
And
It's all
I'll
good.
I'll add to that, right? Like just as, we're taught or that message is given to women about being precious, right? Like so are you. Not everyone deserves to experience you, to carry your seed, any of those things. Your identity is not between your legs. It's not
Hmm.
based on your genitalia. That over that is a fetishize I cannot get it out. fetishization. Fetishization. There we
And
go.
I'm not gonna and I ain't
Fetishization.
gonna say it.
Fetishization. It be taking a minute. The fetishization. So, like, that doesn't come from us. That was projected onto us. And then again, I'm one of those people. I believe everything, not everything, but a lot of things that are struggles and traumatic in our community are connected to the experience of enslavement of ancestors, right? And how the enslaved males were forced to indiscriminately have sex for the purpose of creating the workforce. So,
Yeah.
therefore, that develops that changes in your brain that sex is not love, sex is not relationship, it's not intimacy. And it can turn into just literally sticking and moving, and you're not responsible for any of that. So we have to recognize the role of the pattern of behaviors that are transferred down through our bloodlines. Remember, it did not start
Mhm.
with you. So I don't know if enough people are talking about that, right? Like, so that comes through the slavery experience as well.
It does.
Yeah, it does. And so again, it did not start with you. It's not an excuse, it's an explanation. And I'm troubled sometimes when I hear men, especially young men, it's not natural to just be with one woman. Baby, that's trauma talking. And you don't even know it because now y'all's identity is shaped around this thing that was really a awful distortion of intimacy and how God created us and the way in which intimacy is to be experienced. Well, Rasheem, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you here, and we could clearly go on and on. So, I want to close us up with a signature question. If you could leave the audience with one powerful truth to help them to rise and thrive, what would it be?
One powerful truth, and I guess it's something that we've discussed, alluded to, actually probably talked about explicitly already.
Hmm.
But I think this is the biggest one, and this is based off of my experience working in higher education, from my entire career.
Yeah.
We are enough. Like what you bring is enough. Um, there we suffer from a lot of self-esteem
Uh
issues
huh.
that really, if we just knew how dope we were and someone told us something about ourselves that we believed. A friend of mine that I used to do a lot of leadership stuff with, Jan Jordan, talked about how he traveled the country and he spoke to 1,000 kindergarten students, and he would ask every student, every kid in every class 3 questions. Well, multiple questions. I can't remember. He said, "Can you who can write or no who can draw?" Everyone raise a hand. Um, who could sing? Everyone raised their hand. Who
Hmm.
could dance? Everyone raised their hand. And he said, um, who's better looking than the person on their right or their left? All the kids would jump up. He would get into an audience of grown people and ask those same questions. A hand or two would go off for each question. And his whole thing was we had a confidence when we were kids that got beaten out of us, lied out of us, stolen from us. And he referred to it as our kindergarten confidence. And we believe now we're not enough, that we can't do certain things. Um, we can do whatever we want if we put our mind to it.
Literally.
There is nothing that we cannot accomplish if we don't put in the energy and the time to accomplish that thing. So that's what I would leave for the people who are taking in this podcast, that you can do whatever it is you want to do. Um, you may not be confident in it right now, but put in the energy, put in the effort. Don't sell yourself short because you was put here to be great.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
That's so good. That's so good. That's so good. Uh, uh, Well, thank you again for being here, Rasheem. This is the part where we are going to switch to the audience. So, audience, this week I want you to reflect. What assumptions do I carry about Black masculinity? And then I want you to take action. Check in on a Black man or a young Black man in your life this week. Not fixing, just listening. Just check in on them and see what it is that they need. And then finally, your affirmation, I will honor the full humanity of Black. So I want to thank you all for joining me for another episode of Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole. And another thanks to Rasheem Rooke for joining us here today. Rasheem, if people wanted to stay connected with you, how could they do that?
First, thank you for having me, Doc. This has been a blast. I've enjoyed our
Yeah.
conversation. But if anyone wants to reach out to me, social media is perfectly fine. I am officially Rasheem, Rasheem, and that's the same handle for Instagram and TikTok. But if you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, just search my name, Rasheem, last name Rooke, Ooke. I'm the only Rasheem Rooke in the world, so I will be the only one that pops up, and we can stay in touch.
All right. Well, thank you again. And we will see you all next week. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. Thanks, Rasheem. I should have